And he said, "That I do not, and I doubt much that the puka believes in me either." So that's a relief from the rather monotonous mechanical logic of Psychop. I don't believe in the puka either, and I doubt that the puka believes in me. But it is curious that in England they've got a 6-foot rabbit too in Cornwall. He's called Bunny Man. He's been reported for centuries. One of the most recent Bunny Man sightings was in an English magazine called Common Cause a couple of years ago. A woman coming home late from work saw a UFO in the woods. And the light came toward her, the light was getting brighter, and like many people who've had UFO experiences, she was frightened and started running, and she ran right into the 6-foot-tall white rabbit, who said, "Please pray for me." Well, that's what she thought happened. That's her reality tunnel. That's how she could describe her experience that night. And that got me interested in the whole science of lepoophology. Lepoophology is the conjunction of rabbits with UFOs. There's there's a whole society devoted to studying lepoophology. It's not just one of my fantasies. There's a group called MeBon, the Mutual Easter Bunny Observation Network. They're a splinter off MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. There's a theory that UFOs are created by human expectations. Jacques Vallée is one of the major proponents of the theory that human belief systems create UFOs. And Carl Jung had a variation on that theory in his book on flying saucers. So MeBon decided to see if human expectations would create Easter Bunny sightings. And they started asking other people in the UFO field, whatever that is, whether it's a hobby or a science or a new religion, I don't know, but they started sending out questionnaires if people had any Easter Bunny sightings for them, and they got back a lot of answers. People didn't have Easter Bunny sightings, but they had mysterious conjunctions, synchronicities, Jung would say. Mysterious conjunctions of UFOs and rabbits. For instance, there's a farmer in Isola, Italy, who says that a giant cigar-shaped UFO landed in his backyard. A bunch of dwarfs got out, and they took all the rabbits from his rabbit hutch and took off. Maybe UFOs come here to get the makings for rabbit stew. Then J. Allen Hynek, very distinguished astronomer, who was the consultant to the Air Force's UFO investigation. Hynek, in his book, The Edge of Reality, tells about a case in Iowa where at the site of a UFO sighting, where there was a burn mark on the ground, as is often found, all around the burn mark they found hundreds and hundreds of paralyzed rabbits. And on a more sinister note, north of Chicago, after a UFO sighting, they found mutilated cattle, as is happening increasingly in these cases, UFO sightings and mutilated cattle, but they also found a beheaded rabbit. And there's a case on record of an abductee, a woman who claimed to be abducted by a UFO. She said the pilot of the UFO was a giant rabbit. We get hundreds of millions of signals every second through our various sense organs, and our brains orchestrate them in accordance with our reality tunnel, the way we prefer to put things together. That's why Samoans don't have exactly the same reality tunnel as Methodist Republicans in Ohio, who don't have exactly the same reality tunnel as the Ayatollah Khomeini, who doesn't have exactly the same reality tunnel as the group who are running China now and trying to decide whether they're communists or capitalists and keep changing every week, which I think is a very intelligent thing to do. It shows the profundity of the Chinese people, the yin and yang. But we all orchestrate things according to our favorite reality tunnel. Out of these millions and millions of signals, we put together these little holograms and project them outside and call that reality. And so I regard everybody's reality tunnel as interesting data in primate psychology. And I don't feel any particular belief that anybody's reality tunnel is entirely true, including my own. I know what a nut I am. And I don't think anybody's reality tunnel is completely wrong either. And my experience with mentally ill people is that their reality tunnel contains a great deal of truth, sometimes very painful truth. So I don't think there's any reality tunnel that's all right and any that's all wrong, so I'm not an Aristotelian thinker. So I take this data about lepufology as just an example of an emerging reality tunnel. And it's appearing in the arts, too. The first UFO abductee was not a human being. The first UFO abductee was in a movie, and it was Bugs Bunny. In a 1952 movie called Hasty Hair. Bugs was kidnapped by a UFO. And that was about 6 years before the first human came forth to claim the UFO abduction. And if you see Spielberg's E.T., the first shot you see is a rabbit before you see the UFO. Also, in the old film It Came from Outer Space with Richard Carlson, when the spaceship lands, the first thing you see is a rabbit running away. And the lepufological correlation is very deep. The Firesign Theater, in their album Not Insane, they have a letter in there from a rabbit, and it's dated Deep Space. While Psychop and the other fundamentalist materialists are busy denouncing parapsychology, there are much weirder things going on than ESP. People are having extraterrestrial experiences with rabbits. And then there's the Great Frog Fall mystery. How many people here have read Charles Fort? Ah, well, you know about that. Frogs have been falling out of the sky forever. In ancient Greece, in Narpleon, Greece, in the 4th century BC, they had a fall of frogs and fish that covered the whole town. People couldn't get their doors open. According to contemporary accounts, the town stank for 3 weeks afterwards from cleaning up the frogs and fish. And in Russia, just 3 years ago, in 1981, there was a major fall of frogs in one part of Russia. Gibraltar got them twice in this century alone. 1914, frogs fell all over Gibraltar. And in 1921, they came back and fell again. And on the same city. It was only a coincidence. It was only a coincidence. It was only... I don't want anybody to get too alarmed. If any of this starts freaking you out, just remember, it was only a coincidence. It was only a coincidence. The fact that there was a 7-year interlude in there, you shouldn't get mystical about the number 7. You especially shouldn't get as weird as me and think that's somehow connected with the fact that Joyce began Ulysses in 1914 and finished it in 1921. So the frogs came to announce the beginning and the end of Ulysses. It's only a coincidence that the heroine of Ulysses was born in Gibraltar, Molly Bloom. So many frogs fell on Stenay in France in the Middle Ages that the Merovingian kings put the frog on their coat of arms, and you can still see it. Look up the coat of arms of the Merovingians. They got a frog, and that's because frogs fell out of the sky on Stenay, which was their capital. Snakes fell on Memphis, Tennessee a while back. The latest fall of fish was in London only 2 years ago. They fell in Canning Town, West Hempstead, and around Haverstock Hill, the general area where Jack the Ripper used to be active 100 years ago. A tremendous fall of fish. In Canada,